Welcome to Chatsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Chatsunami. I'm Satsunami and joining me today to bring the fight once again to the Arachnid threat is my very good friend Adam. Adam, welcome back to Chatsunami.
Hello, and you know what I think, Satsunami? I think it's a good day to die.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Or to review Starship Troopers 2 and 3. Can I take the former option, please?
Oh God! You really didn't enjoy this film, did you? Or both of them?
No, do you know what? I've seen worse, in fairness. I've seen better, but I've seen worse.
I mean, you've seen Birdemic.
That's true. You know, in fairness, these films are, to borrow your phrase, these seem like the Citizen Kanes of sequels. I just wanted to be very hyperbolic because you know, Starship Troopers is all about grand gestures and in your face.
I was just going to say, let's not be too dramatic here, calling it the Citizen Kane of sequels. But I do see where you're coming from. It's not the worst I think we've ever seen, but it's a thing. It is a very interesting product. I was going to say a product of its time, but I don't even think films of the time were producing things like this, were they?
No, I don't think so.
Starship Troopers 2, when did that come out? Was it like, it was the early 2000s?
2004, I believe.
Jesus, that late?
I know. It's like 7 years now.
Oh my God. And yeah, Starship Troopers 3, I believe, came out in 2008.
Yeah, you were correct.
I was going to say, it really shows it came out in 2008, but no, it really doesn't. It predates the art form known as animation. It's like, you know, one of those old like documentaries that you see where they go back and it's like, this is the very first form of animation. It was carved into stone, you know. I'm not saying it's that bad, but it's not too far off.
It's like Starship Troopers Willie or something.
Yeah. Oh God, what, an arachnid on a steamboat? I would pay to see that film.
Whistling away.
Gonna kill the Federation. Definitely pay for that. Okay, I'm ending the episode early so we can make our dreams come true. Because that's probably a better... You know what? No, I'm only kidding. As you can tell, today we are going to be talking about Starship Troopers 2 and 3. And it is my devious job to... put the burden of the summary onto you, Adam. So, yeah,
Every time.
Yeah, I don't pay you enough for this. Or at all, actually. Yeah, what is Starship Troopers 2 and 3 about in the most succinct and pain-free summary ever?
Okay, so Starship Troopers 2 takes place on a planet infested with the Arachnids, and it revolves around a small group of mobile infantry soldiers who escape a mass slaughter and take refuge in this old abandoned industrial building. I don't really know what it is, but they find another soldier there who's been accused of murder and was slated to be executed, but wasn't. And basically, they need to hold out against the swarm of arachnids closing in on them until they get rescued. But there's intrigue inside. Things are happening in the surviving group, and that's basically the plot of Starship Troopers 2. Starship Troopers 3, it takes place 11 years after the original film, and we zoom back onto Johnny Rico, our main hero from the first film, who is now a colonel in charge of the defense of another planet. And this planet is overrun by arachnids, and he is accused of treason and also slated to be, there's a theme here, slated to be executed, but escapes execution for a special task. At the same time, the leader of the Federation, Sky Marshal Anoke, is having a sort of religious conversion, a religious experience, and at the same time there's a plot to dethrone him by a high-ranking military general. And so these two things are good, these two strands are going on at the same time, and they culminate in a finale. How about that for a slice of fried summary?
I love how you just said a finale.
You know, we're in the intro here, for goodness sake.
Yeah, you didn't say like a grand finale, a bombastic finale, a Citizen Kane of finales. You just said a finale. And that was it.
I believe in being objective.
Well, can't deny it. Chatsunami exclusive. We are indeed objective. But to kind of give context about our experience, we mentioned this in our previous episode, which if you haven't checked it out, please do, where I actually came to visit you in probably one of the weirdest ways possible. I came to visit you at your house one day, and despite all the knocking, you eventually let me into your house like some kind of, is it like a vampire you have to let in your house?
Yeah, vampire and Starship Troopers fans are the same. They must be invited in.
What blood-sucking parasites. So yes, being the Starship Troopers fan I brought, I think it was all 4. I know technically there are 5 Starship Troopers films, but I only brought 4 of them because, yes, I'm not a true Starship Troopers fan. I apologise, Adam.
You're a phony.
I'm sorry, okay? Yeah, we ended up marathoning all the way through from Starship Troopers 1 to 4. I think by 3, the kind of Starship Troopers fatigue really hit us when, and we mentioned this in our 50th episode celebration, where we actually both got the wrong pizza. Or rather, sorry, we both ordered pizzas, and you explained it better than me, but the long and the short of it was that I ordered like a barbecue chicken pizza, you ordered a vegetarian pizza, and we nearly finished each other's pizza before we were like, wait a minute, we both got the wrong pizza. And ever since then, we blame that on Starship Troopers 3. So that is probably like a good indicator as to what to expect with this film. How did you feel by the end of it? I'm actually quite curious. How did you feel by the end of watching all 4 of these films?
Like you'd taken all 4 films, held them in your hands, and beat me about the head with them until I was stunned and dazed.
I mean, that is exactly what happened, but for the sake of the law, this is a joke. And
I can't remember that evening, so it will be. I've got a giant lump in my head.
Yes, and a snowball that says Starship Troopers. You see, you get it? Citizen Kane reference. See, I'm getting one step closer to watching the damn film. One day I'll watch it, but yes, until then we've got Starship Troopers 2 and 3 to go over. Which is something I never thought I would say. It was great revisiting the first one, because as we both agreed in our Starship Troopers episode, Starship Troopers is a fantastic film. Even though it wasn't well received when it came out, it's kind of amassed a cult following. Ironically enough, a bit like one of the subplots in this, in the third film at least anyway. And when the sequels came out, they were direct to DVD, weren't they?
Both were.
I was going to say poor people, but let's face it, it's really not, is it?
They didn't do anything to justify these films being released in the cinema.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I can imagine like going to see these and having the same kind of feeling as like going to see something like, I was going to say Terminator Salvation, but is it you who actually doesn't mind Terminator Salvation?
Oh, don't you attach that to my name.
Okay.
Don't get that out there. No, this is how rumors start. No, I hate that film. Don't you dare. Then you put that evil on me, Satsunami.
I was going to say, because I can't remember if it was you who said that Terminator Salvation was like, it obviously Terminator 2, 1 and 2, the best. I just wanted to fact check, just in case. This is like turned into an expose. I actually lied to you.
See if I get mail now from people either being like, you're a scumbag, or people being like, thank you for like bringing notice to our cause. You're going to be hearing from my lawyers.
You're going to get a letter that's just like, finally, another fan. Meet us in... Yeah. Meet us under the grand old oak. Round the corner, and it's like, there isn't a grand old oak. There's just one you haven't noticed yet.
Like the film, it's just a withered
husk.
Oh, proud tree.
Yes. Much like Starship Troopers, which began as a fantastic deconstruction and withered away into just absurdity. So, without any further ado, will we just jump into this, like, head first?
Do it.
Before we jump into this, we are going to go away and say a prayer to our bug god. I can't even remember the bug god in 3. Was it like Beetle Macaw or something? I don't know.
That sounds about right. Let's call it that.
Yeah, beetle macaw. You know, it's a beetle, it's a macaw. Actually, it's not. It's a giant bug. But anyway, we're going to go away and pray to whatever that is. And as we do, please feel free to listen to these messages from the Federation. Welcome to Chatsunami, a variety podcast that talks about topics from gaming and films to streaming and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we discussed Game of the Decade, Deadly Premonition, the romantic thriller, Birdemic, and listen to us get all sappy as we discuss our top 5 Christmas films.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, and all good podcast apps. As always, stay safe,
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
We are Beer and Chill Podcast.
Podcast where we review TV shows, games, movies, and whatever else takes our fancy.
So what are you waiting for? If you're a cool kid like us, you're gonna listen to the Beer and Chill Podcast. You can get it anywhere from Spotify all the way to your grandmother's radio. My name is Jan.
And I'm Craigie C.
And we are
Beer and Chill.
Okay, and we're back. So, shall we start off with the, quite arguably, the weakest film of the trilogy?
let's do it. Let's get it out of the way first.
Yeah, let's start with Starship Troopers 2. So, where do we even begin with this? I was going to say, well, we start with the, good points of this film, because that's probably going to be the shortest section.
Yeah, let's do that. That should take us about 30 seconds.
Yeah, the effects are good.
Yeah. The bugs are good.
And the reason for that is because the director of this film is none other than Phil Tippett, which I hope I'm saying that correctly. He actually worked on... He's actually got quite an extensive filmography, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's worked on a lot of the big sort of big kind of blockbuster effects.
Because I think he was actually credited in Jurassic Park as well.
Yeah, Star Wars as well. I'm sure he's credited on.
Yeah,
so he's got really good pedigree in that kind of effects.
No, he's a very talented guy, and he was responsible for the Arachnids themselves, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the lead effect supervisor, I think, on the first film.
Absolutely talented guy, and the fact that he had a lot of the practical effects as well for the bugs and things, absolutely brilliant. It still hold up today from the first film. But we're not talking about the first film, unfortunately. We're going back to sequel, and we're going to be ripping apart, unfortunately, the sequel. But at the same time, that's all I'll say. The effects of the bugs and things, and some of the practical effects are absolutely fantastic in this film, except for the guns. Now, in the very first film, I always remember there's a particular scene where they're at boot camp and they are shooting these laser guns and going pew 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 and all of this, as a laser gun should do, And then later on in the film, they go back to, I think it's just, normal guns that shoot bullets and things like that. And you think, okay, so are they just going to do the same in the second film? No, they basically attach a flashlight to the end of their guns, and I didn't realise this because it's never explained in the film. It's only in the Wikipedia page that apparently it's high-tech guns, laser guns or something, but nothing comes out of the guns. It's
I hope yes on that.
Yeah, I think it's a diehard fanatic of the series who's no, it's actually laser guns. It's no. Jeremy, please, go outside. The lockdown's over. Jeremy, we miss you, please. Come out of your room. Stop writing Starship Troopers 2 fanfiction, come on. For God's sake. Well, I was going to say that's the most egregious thing about this film, but it really isn't, is it?
It's up there. I'm not going to lie. It's probably top 3 of egregiousness. But yeah, I don't think it quite takes the top spot.
I wish I could say more about this film, to say although it was bad, at least it had heart or something. I can't even say it had heart. Can you?
It's got nothing. Do you know what the most egregious thing about this film is?
Go for it.
It doesn't feel like a Starship Troopers film.
Oh, 100%.
Starship Troopers, right? The first one worked because it was on such a big, grand scale, as it should be. That's kind of the whole point. It's it's all bravado and everything's in your face and it's big battles and bugs are exploding and people are getting torn in half, and that's what makes the first film so great. It's such fun to watch. But this one, it's a really small cast of characters, and it's set in such a small claustrophobic environment. But that's not what it's almost like it's trying to be like a psychological horror film, something like The Thing, you know, where it's that kind of like, oh, who do we, and like there's a whole thing about you can't tell who to trust and things, and, you know, there's these alien parasites that have infected some are able to infect the humans and stuff, and like, you know, take control of their minds and everything, and that's sort of the main thing. It's like, who have the parasites taken over and who haven't they? But first of all, Starship Troopers is not that kind of film isn't suited for the Starship Troopers universe. It's not a psychological horror. It's not like a small scale thing. It should be done on a grand scale. Second, it fails the psychological horror because something like the John Carpenter's The Thing works because you genuinely don't know like who's been infected by the alien and stuff, and who it's all about. Like, it's all this tense affair of you can't trust anybody. But we know in this film because we see who the parasites have taken over. So there's none of the kind of like intrigue and like tension that these films need to have. So it fails on both accounts, honestly.
Just going back to what you were saying of like these films being like very grand and over the top, do you know what it reminds me of? You know, and this is like a kind of shared like pastime of ours back in the day, but you know the Warhammer 40k universe?
Yeah.
Where it is just like nothing but grand scale war, you know, against humanity versus all these like horrible other factions. Only it's kind of condensed in Starship Troopers, where it's just humanity against the bugs, you know, the Arachnids. It's like, it's toe to toe with like these enemies that we can't, you know, make peace with. I mean, technically, you know, as Starship Troopers, they need something to shoot at. But at the same time with that, like, I don't know. I feel as if this was like a spin-off, or like if it was part of like a TV show, then maybe it could have worked. You know, I'm thinking more like, I don't know, this is something you definitely see more in something like Star Trek, or, you know, one of these like one-off kind of serialized sci-fi shows. And I liked the idea of it, like, oh, it's a, you know, there's a bug in my brain, you know, and you're like, okay, right, how are we going to deal with this? But it's just so generically done. It's like, oh, how do we know that this woman who's been taken over by the bug is evil? Oh yeah, she flashes her boobs, she snogs like someone else, and it starts to turn into like a, oh, what do you even call them? I don't know, like Riverdale, for example, or a 90210 show. Where it is, it's like, oh no, my boyfriend kissed the random lassie who was here. Oh no, what are we gonna do? And it's like, ma'am, no offence, but there are literal giant bugs outside of this fence. Are you actually having a giggle right now? That this is the worst of your problems here. And I know what he was going for, like, you know, this whole human like connection and things. I don't know. It just doesn't mesh at all. It's just clashes at every single turn.
That's exactly it. And as you said, like this idea can work in science fiction. Like something like Star Trek is perfect for doing a kind of episode like that. Like the Terminator franchise as well is a good example. It can, like, you can have like more grand scale settings for Terminator films, but you can also do these kind of more kind of claustrophobic, small scale like things as well, because it works. But it just, Starship Troopers doesn't work on that level because it's not like the first film was never built like that. The first film was built to be this epic, you know, Odyssey type thing. That's what it was, and it's not a universe that's ever suited for this kind of small scale things. I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say I don't know why they did it. I know exactly why they did it. If you look at the budget for this film and compare it to the original, so the original had a budget of $100 million. You know, big sci-fi epic film, that all makes sense. This one was obviously, as we said, direct to video, so it had a budget of $7 million. So I think this really explains why they had to do this. But like, and so obviously I can understand like the practical realities, but it doesn't work on like a foundational level because it doesn't feel like it feels like something else. You know, they could have slapped, I don't know, like some other name, like, I don't know, Troop Ship, Star Roop, I don't know, like they could have called anything else.
Super
like,
Troopers, you know. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a Starship Troopers film, and that's why it's not good. That's the main crux of the matter.
I mean, that and the fact that the characters are just, let's face it, like, normally I don't like, you know, just absolutely ripping into a film unless I've been, like, horribly affected by it, which I have been, so we're going to rip into it. But the characters are, as I said, are just so generic. You've got Buffman McHero, sultry villainess, who else? Strong woman, who was actually in the first film, I believe, is like, Yeah, was she not like the captain of the, was it the Roger Young? Or one of the...
Yeah, she's the one who the door closes on and crushes her.
Yeah, and they somehow got her back, and it's like, okay, fair dues.
Like the exact same type of character again.
Yeah, she's just like the no-nonsense, like hard-ass. You've got one who's pregnant, and because she's pregnant, they say like, oh, because she's pregnant, her psychic powers have been enhanced, so she gets psychic powers, and it's like, come on. Come on, really? What other ones are there?
There's also like the guy who's like the guy who's nominally in charge, who's like you think looks like he's going to be evil, but then turns out to be good in the end. Yeah, you've got like the main general who's a bit clueless. It's all like brash bravado, but doesn't really know what's going on.
It's a group of people. Honestly,
the best way to describe it. Honestly,
it's like a group of people who got lost at Comic-Con and they took a wrong turn together, and now they're trapped in an abandoned warehouse, and none of them can get out. So everything in this film, you can tell what they were trying to go for, but just like from the gross out, like as you said, a psychological horror where you've got like the guy who for some reason his body degrades, but he's the only one. And don't get me wrong, it's disgusting, but it's really well done. But that's the only guy that's the only guy that does it. The rest of them seem pretty fine having a bug down their throat, and they've had the bug down their throat for probably the same amount of time, if not longer. So you kind of think, why? What? How? When? Which? It doesn't make sense. Like the logistics of this film. And I know, it's a sci-fi film about giant killer bugs, but come on, have some consistency in your film, damn it. I feel bad for saying that because, as we've established, the effects are actually really good. Well, as I said, for the most part, like the bugs still look good. The brain bugs, not the brain bugs from the first film, but like, I can't remember what you call them. I don't think the film ever says, but it's, the bugs that actually go down the people's throats.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, they look really good, but everything else, it's just kind of like, yeah. Like, as I said, the guns, which is just, it honestly feels like you're watching, like, cam footage or, I don't know, like an airsoft game or something. You're expecting to raise the hands after they've been shot. It's like, okay, fair enough. And I think the worst example of this is towards the end of the film, and I doubt anybody cares about spoilers, but if you do, then please skip ahead a couple of minutes. Basically, the general who they rescue ends up getting, like, he nearly escapes and he nearly gets on, like, a Federation, like, shuttle, and the guy comes in, like, Night of the Living... Is it Night of the Living Dead?
Oh, Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, that's it. He, like, comes up and he's got, like, 2 LMGs or something, and he's just like, hey, General! And then he shoots him repeatedly, and it's supposed to be like this climax, and oh, he saved the day, he's the, as the subtitle says, the hero of the Federation. I guess. And for some reason they make a big deal about it because they rescue the pregnant woman, but they don't rescue him because he's like, traitors like don't return home or something. Like,
yeah, it's some like logic where you're like, I feel like they could resolve this quite easily. No time. Yeah,
for someone who is a traitor who would never make it home, they make a pretty big deal about him when they get home.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, we got a statue, we've even got like a video of him. You're like, okay. And can I just say, sorry, before we move on to the next film, they reuse well, maybe not a lot, but they do reuse like a good couple of scenes from the first film. Mainly like the carpet bomb scene.
Oh, yeah.
They love reusing that, where it's like at the very beginning, they've got the recruiter, and this is one of my pet peeves of the film, I suppose the franchise as a whole. So in the first film, there is, and I think the book starts with this as well, where one of the main characters, in fact it's the character played by Michael Ironside, and he says, come on, you apes, you want to live forever? To which then Casper Van Dien's character, Johnny Rico, imitates that towards the end of the film because he's taken his like old leader's place and he yells at everybody. I think that's the last, or one of the last lines in the film, where he's just like, come on, you apes, you want to live forever? And it's like, okay, that's cool because it's a continuation. But then at the very beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember if it's the beginning or the end, but the promoter comes on with this shabby, unironed costume. It probably is ironed, but for the sake of the, the joke, he's unironed, walks in like a sleazy car salesman, and he's like, come on, you apes, you wanna live forever? It's like... I'm expecting him to lure me into a van with his copy of Starship Troopers. It's like, really? Is this going to be everybody's going to be saying this in this universe? Do you know what it reminds me of? See in Star Wars, where a lot of the characters say, I have a bad feeling about this. And I think it was Han Solo that says it. I could be wrong. I could be losing all my geek cred here. But I'm sure it was. It's he's like, oh, I have a bad feeling about this. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the Star Wars universe is saying, oh, I have a bad feeling about this. It seems like it's the same thing here. And then, of course, we get the end where the recruiter's like, oh, fresh meat for the grinder. And he is pointing at a baby while his mother holds him.
And that's the only quote unquote satire we get in this film. And that's another reason why it fails, is because the satire of the original Starship Troopers was so integral to, again, why that film is so great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing. Well, unless it was on such a deep level that I completely missed it. But for me, that's the only bit they even get close to doing. It's they got to the end, they're like, oh crap, we haven't put any satire in. Quickly point at a baby and call it meat. Done. Oof. Good job, Phil.
You're welcome. Now I must go. My visual effects team needs me. Yeah, and he just flies into the sky with presumably better effects. Yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head there. Just, there's no, satire or anything else that fits into the Starship Troopers universe. It just seems like it could be any other generic The Thing rip-off film. Yeah. There's nothing. There's no identity. I think that really sums it up. There's just no identity of its own. It's a shame, because I do like it when films do try to do something different, but it just didn't work in this case. It really just didn't work, and it's a shame. So A for effort, Phil, but you get a solid F from me. How about you, Adam? How would you rank this film?
It's terrible. I'm sorry, Mr. Phil, but it's terrible. And it's just because it feels so detached from the first film. I remember watching it with you, and I remember watching the second film, and I was thinking, has Satsunami put the wrong disc in? Is this the right film?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. I was like, the costumes look the same.
Yeah.
the Arachnids look the same, but this isn't Starship Troopers, and it's not. So yeah, it gets an F from me as well.
So what you're saying is it doesn't get its citizenship.
No, exactly. Yeah, it gets hung in a public execution.
Oh Jesus! I mean, you're not wrong, but Jesus.
And I get to pull the rope.
I can imagine you just dear Mr. Phil Tippett, can I pull the rope on your horrendous film? Yours sincerely, Adam the Sandwich. And speaking of Jesus, that brings us on to the third installment of the franchise, that being Starship Troopers Marauders. It's a film, it's a continuation. What did you think of it? Because I had seen this before, and I think when I came over to visit you, this was the first time you were really exposed to this film.
Yeah, I had no idea that Starship Troopers had sequels until you informed me, and then brought them into my abode. But so this felt more like a Starship Troopers film after whatever the second one was. This felt much more like I felt back on I was like, okay, I'm on firmer ground now. I know where I'm at. That being said, it feels like still a very kind of pale imitation of the original. At least it feels more similar, but it's like looking at a bad A4 print off of the Mona Lisa rather than going to Paris to see it.
Wow, what? What a metaphor. You're not wrong, but it's a weird one. I have very mixed feelings about it. It definitely feels more like a Starship Troopers film than 2 does. So that in itself kind of elevates it, right above number 2 for me. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. Personally for me, and this might be controversial. Well, I was about to say this is a controversial opinion, but I don't think there's going to be many Starship Troopers 3 fans coming after me after me admitting this. But I don't really like the satire in this film, just purely because in the first film there was all these nuances and things. How they went from the beginning, the first film where it was all kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of satire that was in your face, join the mobile infantry, it's great, Sorry, I didn't realise Tony the Tiger had joined the mobile infantry there.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. It's like, oh no, Tony, please. Yeah, and he was never seen again after Planet P's invasion. It just seems a little bit too on the nose because, as I said, the first film, it kind of has like subtleties to the satire, a bit like RoboCop and, Verhoeven's other work, whereas for this one, it's like, haha, look, we're space fascists. Did you know we were space fascists? Haha, space fascists. And it's like, I get that's what we've established in this universe, that the Federation are space fascists, but like what were your thoughts? Like, comparing this to the first film for a second.
I totally agree. I totally agree in regards to like the fascism kind of aspects and stuff. This beats you over the head with it, like very strongly. You're like, yep, no, I understand now. I get it. No room for doubt here. What I do like though is this film does kind of add some new kind of strands of satire into it, which I actually really like. I actually think it might be like the best bits of the film for me. There's kind of an exploration of the kind of a cult of personality type thing, in that the Sky Marshal and like how he's built up like as like the leader of the Federation and everything, and the way it's done is quite funny. He's almost like a kind of like pop star, like almost like Justin Bieber type, and I think that's really funny, and I actually think that's actually quite good satire. Also as well, there's a lot about religion here and the kind of Federation's relationship with religion, which I really actually like, and I think is done with a bit of nuance. It's still not as good as like how the first film kind of handles its satirical elements, but it's done with a bit more nuance here. In that when the film starts, like the government is so anti-religion because like it's mostly Christianity is mostly what it's talking about here, but it's so anti-Christianity because it's like, oh, that's peace, and we're all about war and strength and everything. So they're like they're cracking down on on any kind of organized religion, and it's like it's almost something like like the Soviet Union or something, like a communist society like trying to stamp out religion. But like as at the end of the film, it's the government, the Federation has co-opted religion, and so there's like a great line where it's like, God's back and he's a citizen too, and it's this great way that like because that is something that has happened in history as well, and that like the way that governments and states have co-opted religion to like legitimize themselves and power and and war as well to an extent. So I like that dynamic there. I think that the film actually handles that pretty well. So, but I agree from the kind of like, as you say, from the kind of looking at the kind of fascist aspects of it. Yeah, it's just you're getting bludgeoned here with it, like if you're facing a stormtrooper, it's just bludgeoning you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I have to admit, I do agree with you in the sense that I liked the idea of, like, as you said, the religious aspect of it, and them trying to use that as just another method of control and legitimization of the Federation. What I'm quite confused at though is there's one particular character who goes around like openly praying. Surely somebody would have flagged her up to like her superiors or something. I don't know, because as we were saying before, like the Federation is basically the be all and end all in this universe. It's like the kind of one absolute that people report to, and for people to substitute that for something else like faith, or even in the later films, which don't worry, we'll get to them, they talk about the ideas of like independence and things like that. The Federation is supposed to be like the main pillar of this universe, and yeah, you got this person openly being like, oh yeah, I pray to God, and you're like, huh, interesting that you haven't been like arrested for treason yet.
It's a fair point, but she is an air stewardess, so
true.
It's important business.
Do you not have to be a citizen though to like serve on a ship, or like to be part of the? I get what you mean, like that is essentially her role, but is she not like part of the fleet or something, or is she just there to serve the air marshal?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know.
Join us next week as we dive. Nah, I'm only kidding. We're not returning to this film.
Starship Troopers 3.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to your point about the propaganda in this film, I'm not going to lie, see the newsreels, absolutely love them as well. That was by far one of my favourite parts in the first one as well, and it definitely has one of the greatest highlights of this film. That, of course, being the Sky Marshal's #1 hit single, It's a Good Day to Die. And my god, is it catchy. If you haven't heard of it, pause this episode, go onto YouTube, type in It's a Good Day to Die Starship Troopers 3, look up, listen to it. It's only about 2.5 minutes long. Then come back, listen to this episode, and tell us what you think, because it is a bop.
No doubt it is. It's amazing. And it comes out of nowhere as well. Well, it comes out of nowhere, but like it's so unexpected, and you're like, what? And it's just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Oh, I love it. The first time I heard it, I thought, okay, this is all right. This is kind of catchy. And then, by the end of it, it's like you're singing along. It's like, oh my god, I'm a member of the Federation. Oh no. Better put out the apology tweets.
Guess I'm a fascist now.
Oh no, the Sky Marshal warned me about this. Jokes aside, it is legitimately like a very catchy song. And I remember sending the song to people and they were like, oh cool, is that a song from the 80s? And it's like, or not the 80s, the 90s. And I was like, no, this is from 2008. And they were like, oh. And I was like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is from the 23rd century, 22nd century. I've forgotten what year Starship Troopers is set in. But...
Oh yeah, the 20th century. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the 2100s, although I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to fact check, but Starship Troopers, we're not going to fact check. Let us know. That is your question for the podcast. What year was Starship Troopers 3 filmed in? And yeah. Well, we'll talk about the bad aspects of it then.
Yeah.
It is not as strong as the first one, which I know kind of goes without saying, but between the plot and everything else that's going on, like, I do like, as I said before, I do like the kind of like they're introducing religion and things and the, propaganda, but you'll hear me repeating myself a lot here because I feel as if that's the only good things about this film. Like, Casper Van Dien returns and he's still got a mighty chin, so there is that. Like, I do like the fact he still does his character to this day. Like, he returned for the 4th and 5th film, the CGI ones, Invasion and Traitor of Mars, which it is kind of cool that he's still, like, playing this character. So, if and when they do, like, the reboot of Starship Troopers, I really hope he's got a cameo or something, because it would be great. He really is dedicated to the character.
I hope he's still playing Johnny Rico back at high school.
Oh my god. Yeah, he was like 29, was he not? Or 27?
Well, like in his 40s. Hello, fellow high school students.
What, when he does the awkward dance where he puts his hands in the air and is like, woo, how about that Federation, eh? Oh, God, imagine. I would watch that, though. I would 100% watch that film. But I digress. So yeah, it was kind of cool seeing Johnny Rico, the man, the myth, the legend, coming back. There is one pet peeve, and this is me putting on my nerd glasses here, but there's a scene where I think the Sky Marshal greets him, and he's like, welcome, Johnny Rico, the hero of Planet P. And can I just say that he wasn't the hero? It was actually Zim that found the brain bug. It wasn't him.
Poor Zim.
Yeah, poor Zim. He doesn't even get the recognition that he deserves. He went out to private to find the brain bug, and he did. He did indeed. That's a minor, compared to some of the worst aspects of this film, that is a very minor tidbit. Can we talk about the animation?
Let's do it.
Yeah, the animation has taken a severe nosedive in this film. I don't know what happened. I think Phil went on like a sabbatical leave or something. There is no way he was involved in this. They're all like horrible, layered on CGI messes, I suppose is the right word. Like, just for the warrior bugs. I mean, some of the other bug designs are cool. I mean, you've got the kamikaze bugs, are they called?
Oh, yeah?
Remember the ones where it's like their beetles rolled up into a ball?
Oh,
unfold. I mean, it's a cool idea, but like, what is their life cycle? Like, are they just born with bombs in their stomach and then they just chuck them over? What was the brain?
Bloody hell.
What was the brain bugs thinking behind that? He's like, and I know I haven't seen Rick and Morty, so I probably shouldn't make the reference, but it's like, when Rick makes is it like the butter robot? It's like, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to pass butter. Oh my god. Or to pass the salt or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what these bugs are like. It's like, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to blow up in front of the Federation. Oh my god. And that's that. You get the scorpion bug, which is quite cool, but again, they seem more mechanical than, like the organic. Because, I mean, at least, say what you will about the first film, but at least the bugs felt more organic, whereas these ones feel a little bit more mechanical, except for when they return with the brain bug, which is a cool, callback. I have mixed feelings about the finale bug, shall we say.
Yeah.
Beetle McCaw or McCoyba or whatever it's called. Yeah, that looks very dodgy, what we say.
Yeah, it does look a bit shoddy.
Yeah, look it up. Like, pause the episode, go look it up in Google, or watch the scene if you're brave enough on YouTube, and then come back. Did you watch it? Yep. So yeah, it is.
Horror.
What did you say?
The horror.
Oh, the horror. Oh, God. The Lion, the Witch, and the sheer horror of that scene. I like the idea of it. It's just an execution that was like, this is a thing. And yeah, this is actually, funny enough, this is the only film, until the new ones, or the CGI ones, this is the only film that features power armor in the entire, 3 live action films, which is absolutely surreal because the power armor in the books was something it was very heavily focused on. Whereas in this, it's like, oh yeah, we've got these secret suits that there is a scene where they have to strip off to scan themselves or something to become team power.
That bit is awful. Can I just say?
Yeah.
That bit, gratuitous, I don't think even describes it.
Oh.
Why did they need to be naked?
Here's the thing, I'm actually going to reference a nudity scene in the first film, and I can't believe I'm doing this, but here we go. So in the first film, there is a scene where everyone's naked and they're all in a shower, and it's I think we said this in the episode when we did it, but it's it seems like a very platonic scene. It's it's not done, it's not gratuitous in the sense that they're not zooming in on certain angles, or they're not doing, it's just they're just washing and that's it. And they're laughing with one another, they're comrades in arms, there's nothing kind of seedy about it. In this one, they're just oh yeah, we gotta scan you for these mechs. Oh yeah, strip. And it's wait, what? I just want to pilot a mech suit. And it's oh no, you have to strip for that. And
to be naked to pilot a mech suit, get him off.
What kind of anime shit is this? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't any book readers out there that have read the Starship Troopers book. I mean, I haven't gotten that far yet, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they had to be naked to get into power armor. I mean, there could be a significant chapter later on detailing the nitty gritty of it, which I hope to God there's not. Yeah, just there's no reason for it. And can I just say, the whole power armor thing doesn't come in until about 3/4 of the way through, if that.
It's in it for about 10 minutes, I think, overall, to be honest.
Yeah, so the reason they go into power armor is because Johnny Rico's friend comes to visit with the Sky Marshal, and he's in his basically SS cosplay, and he comes in, with a big black trench coat and everything, and the hat. You know the drill. And he comes in and he gets drunk, and he gets into a fight with these farmers who clearly are not a huge fan of the Federation, and he nearly shoots one of them, and Rico stops him, and I think he punches him afterwards. To which he says, "Oh, that's treason." So Rico gets locked up, and he's about to get hung for treason, and eventually he doesn't. He gets saved because his old friend needs him to save his girlfriend who crash landed on the Bug World planet, and yeah, that's a thing. So he uses them to go into this horrible situation, which again, it's a scene that's there. It's remember how I said this in our last episode where I was talking about the scene after Dizzy's funeral where Neil Patrick Harris says, listen up boys and girls, this is war, and all of this, and then Rico just out of nowhere is that's what the mobile infantry does, and you're okay, Casper, okay, can you say that line with a bit more feeling? But it seems like it's a very similar scene, if you know what I mean, where it's just there's no reaction there. He's nearly got hung for all the wrong reasons, and then he's oh okay, I'll power a mech suit, and that's it. And that actually leads on to one of your favourite scenes where they use the barbed wire incorrectly.
Forgotten about that freaking barbed wire. Oh my god.
Do you want to explain that?
They put it up horror vertically.
Yeah, they made a wall of it.
Oh god, they made a freaking wall of. Oh no, I'm not even gonna get into that because that's the most. I feel that's the most niche thing. Any barbed wire fans out there, barbed wire specialists out there, don't watch this. Don't watch that scene because it's horrifying. The misuse of barbed wire. This film feels like the two main strands of this film, as you said, kind of Rico's journey, and then sort of the Sky Marshal and Rico's friends and girlfriends journey. Sorry, I forgot her name. They feel so disparate and so separate, like they don't belong together.
Yeah.
Because Rico's kind of journey is more akin to the first film, and it kind of fits in. The stuff with the Sky Marshal when they crash land on that planet, again, it doesn't feel like Starship Troopers. It's like, did you ever a film called Pitch Black?
Oh, yes.
Which is like the first one with that Vin Diesel character Riddick.
Yeah.
The idea like the ship crash lands like a small group of survivors on this alien planet.
Mhm.
Like again, it's like they're going for that vibe. And again, I'm going to harp on this. That's not Starship Troopers. It's not a like. And as well, like there's lots of scenes of them like this group walking and stuff, and it almost becomes like tries to become like a philosophical treatise at points. Like the Sky Marshal's talking about God and everything, and it's like getting into all this stuff. And again, that's not what this universe is about. Like the film isn't suited to that kind of discussion. It's got satirical elements, but you know, like it's not the way it's done. So again, it feels again like they've chosen source material that doesn't fit the universe and also doesn't fit the acting talent. Because I'm sorry, like, you know, I was gonna say no offense, but some offense to the actors in this. Like they're not that great. They can't handle this kind of material. So again, like it's just weird how these two elements of this film feel so separate and just don't sit well, and they kind of awkwardly come together in a finale at the end, and it's just like, oh, well done for jamming the two together, but maybe you shouldn't have.
You tried, but you failed. There is a lot that just doesn't mesh with this. Do you know what it reminds me of? It honestly makes me think of someone, again, I'm going to use like Jeremy or Jeffrey or whoever you used as an example for the second film, but it reminds me of like if a person wrote like a fan fiction for Starship Troopers 1, but they ramped up the satire to 11. Or 1100 at this rate, and they kind of missed all the subtleties that went along with it. Because as I said, don't get me wrong, like Starship Troopers wasn't the most subtle film to begin with, but it had those elements that brought you back, and you know, when you rewatched it, you thought, oh, okay, this is interesting how this relates to that. With this, it just seems like action set piece after action set piece, and we've got a Sky Marshal, you know, we've got this giant world bug, which, at first it looks awesome and cool and creepy, and then you realise what's on its face and you go, oh, okay, Phil Tippett clearly wasn't consultant here, or maybe he was. Like, I will eat my hat. Well, jokes on people at home, I don't wear a hat, haha. But if I did wear a hat, I would eat it, like, if he was involved in this, but surely not, because the bugs look terrible. There is a great scene where a guy, like, dies because of a shovel.
That's great,
yeah, and it is like, I do really like that set, you know, like the trenches and things like that, and they have to protect themselves against the bugs with like electric fences, which as goofy as it is, I still think that kind of aesthetic is cool. But then they just, much like the bugs that are born to die, they just blow it up, and it's like, okay, on to the next set piece. You know, we've got Earth, and then we've got the big bug planet, and then we're back to Earth again, then back to the bug planet, where like last kind of harping on the over the top satire. But there's one particular scene at the very end where it's the two female leads who, you know, they're trapped, and the Sky Marshal has been, and I'm using this in the nicest term possible, he's been eaten, and you know, he gets nommed by this huge, you know, world bug, and it's like, oh my god, what's going to happen, you know, and the religious like woman turns to the one who's clearly like an atheist, which makes more sense in this universe. But anyway, she is like, come on, pray with me, and they're praying together, and then the atheist woman looks up and she's like, oh my god, and you know, she's like, what is it? And a halo forms over the woman's head, and it turns out that in the distance it's all the Marauder suits that are coming down, and I bet you whoever wrote that scene was just like, oh, genius, this is absolute genius. And I was like, no, are you sure about that? And then, yeah, it's just nonsensical action where they just blow everything up, and you're like, okay, fair enough. Just Starship Troopers 3, everybody, you know. That's it. Like, the film kind of ends with another propaganda reel. Johnny Rico says the iconic, come on, you apes, you want to live forever. And then it's like, I guess.
We'll all go home happy.
Yes. And then It's a Good Day to Die plays out at the end, which is, again, the best part of the film, I would argue. And then that's it. It was the end of our tragic run with Starship Troopers. I have to admit, although this definitely isn't the best out of the trilogy of films, if you can even call it a trilogy, because, you know, you have the first film, which is this definitive introduction into the world and everything. You've got the second one, which is just a complete spin-off. And then the third one kind of tries to tie it back into the first one. And sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it doesn't. Overall, like, I'm going to regret asking this, but what was your, like, overall impression and experience of this?
Yeah, I don't like calling it a trilogy
Yeah.
because I really feel these last two films cheapen the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually genuinely think the first one is brilliant. And having watched it again, I just have so much respect for it. And I think it's great. These two aren't. They aren't great. They're not even good. The second one is bad. It's really, really bad. The third one's bad, but I wouldn't go to really, really bad. So there we go. Damning with faint praise. Like, it does feel like more of a sequel, which is nice. It feels more of like it belongs, but at the same time, like, you know, it doesn't belong. It doesn't earn a seat at the table with the original. So I don't know. I like to look at 2 and 3 as just like separate entities on a completely different planet. Let's just have Starship Troopers 1 as like by itself, as like the gem that it really is.
But you are forgetting that we do have 2 more films to go over.
You know what? I tried to forget, but it's true.
Unfortunately, which I have to admit I didn't realise until I think it came out on Netflix. You know, no surprise. Bad sci-fi film comes out on Netflix. Everybody's surprised.
Stop the presses.
Stop the presses, indeed. In fact, I remember watching it, not realising it was a Starship Troopers film, because I saw it was like Starship Troopers Invasion, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then they did the, come on, you apes, you want to live forever? And I was like, oh, okay. Or, no, it wasn't that, sorry. What they did was they started with, I think, a line in the book, maybe, or something like that. They did something quite familiar, and I was like, huh, that sounds awful familiar as well. And then I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden I see the Arachnids, and I'm like, wait a minute. This looks an awful lot like Starship Troopers. And, you know, yeah, they realised very quickly that it was Starship Troopers, and you're like, huh, so they made 2 more films after this. I think by different companies, but you know what? That is indeed a discussion for another day, which you're definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, do you know what? It'll be another experience. It'll be another chance to release.
It'll be another feather in your bad movie cap, that's for sure. Just a quick wrapping up point. Would you recommend these films to either any moviegoers or diehard Starship Troopers fans?
The second film, no. I wouldn't recommend the second film to anybody. Like, I don't. It's not good. It's not good in the Starship Troopers canon. It's not a good film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even really think it's a film that you can like. I kind of enjoyed. I enjoyed watching it with you more than I would have enjoyed watching it myself. But even then, I don't think it does. It's not one of these like films that. It's not one of these like pantheon films where you can like laugh at it with other people and it's fun to watch. It's not like Samurai Cop or something like that, which I think is a lot of fun to watch with other people. The third film, if you're not a Starship Troopers fan or like you don't know anything about it, I wouldn't recommend it. You know what? If you really like Starship Troopers 1, yeah, go watch 3. I can't guarantee you'll like it, but I think there's probably some stuff in there that, at the very least, it'll make you want to go back and watch Starship Troopers 1. And that's, like, you know, if that's all the film achieves, then, you know, that's still a good thing.
I was going to say glowing praise there, but...
Glowing praise for it.
Glowing praise from a 30-watt bulb. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like, the second one, especially for me, yeah, don't go see it. Unless you really hate someone and you ask them to watch it for a movie review.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. And on that note, yes, let's wrap it. Nah, jokes aside, yeah, the second one, nah, absolutely not. You can check it out for morbid curiosity, but don't say we didn't warn you. We're like the old men in front of the haunted house saying, don't go in there. And, you know, all the kids say, you can't tell me what to do. And yeah, they end up getting eaten by the house, you silly children. Anyway, if you want to check it out, do so at your own discretion. The third one, yeah, check it out if you want, but it's not a must-see of the franchise. So yeah, I totally agree with that. On that note, yeah, thank you for enduring these films with me.
You're more than welcome. Like, you know, I am very glad to have had a chance to talk about these, because I would have been a severely cross man if I had to live the rest of my life knowing having watched Starship Troopers 2 and 3 without the chance to like vent and like, you know, discuss. I would have been a very, very unhappy man.
Actually, I didn't want to say this, but you know, the like last recording we did there when I stopped it may have like corrupted itself.
We're doing this again. Start over. died.
Stop the recording. I want another go. In all caps. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for both discussing this with me and enduring the films themselves and enduring a mixed up pizza. So yeah, there was a quadruple whammy that day. So.
It was indeed. But worth it, to give me a chance to rewatch the original. So,
Absolutely.
It was worth the sequels and the pizza fiasco, just so I can watch the original and just appreciate how good it is. And go watch the original. I'll say it again. Go watch the original. It's great.
Definitely. Seconded. Go watch it. Become a citizen now. Join up. And yeah, watch the second. No, watch it first.
Oh, Chrissy, what are you done?
And on that note, yeah, let's cut this transmission. Thank you all so much for listening once again to another episode of Chatsunami. As always, stay safe, stay awesome, stay hydrated, and if you want to know more, go check us out on Anchor, Spotify, and all good podcast apps. Catch you in the next episode.